Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're covering something a little different. We're going to be covering climate change. Now, the person that I'm covering today is known as Remnant of Israel. We've had some run-in before, and his views and opinions are some of the more dangerous ones that I've seen on Twitter, and we'll be getting into that as we go along. So, to start with, this is one of the things that just completely pisses me off about fundamentalist views. Climate change denial is one of those issues that just rubs me the wrong way. Now, for those of you that may or may not be aware, I am a parent. I've got 2 children. Now, the condition that I leave the world is directly impactful on them. So I want to leave it in as good a condition as possible. Remnant, on the other hand, doesn't seem to care. And throughout this thread that I'm going to be covering, we'll see exactly how that plays out. I'm going to walk you through this whole thing, and I'm going to leave a link below so that you can see the whole conversation for yourself, so that I'm not accused of skipping or omitting anything. And I'm going to be walking you through my thought process at the time. This started as an answer to an AIG post. The thread, "Did life come from outer space?" Now, my initial response was going to be, yeah, it could have. Meteors have impacted the Earth before with amino acids and other complex chemicals. And then I saw this. I tried to stay civil. I really did at this point. I'm trying to stay as civil as possible, regardless of the fact that me and Remnant have history. So I felt it necessary to make a point. It's a bit of a low blow, I know, but reason isn't exactly this guy's first language. I would equate it to something more along the lines of his 7th or 8th language. Like you get a call from a telemarketer and you're in the United States, but it's obvious this guy's first language is not English, that kind of thing. The language of reason just seems to kind of fly over him. His response was surprising. Apparently, leaving the earth to be absolutely destroyed by his religious ilk, it doesn't seem to bother him that much. Also, it's not like I'd need help from him for me to pack. I'm a former Marine. You'd be amazed at what we can shove into random little spaces. A sea bag, a backpack, it doesn't matter. We will shove more stuff in there than one would think could logically be shoved in there, but that's neither here nor there. Now, the thing that got me here was his apparent lack of response to the whole fucking the earth thing. That stood out to me. Now, this is where I feel, personally, the indoctrination comes in. First off, recycling is not going to cut it. Not in the long term. The thing we need to be concerned about is, cutting down the CO2 emissions that every nation produces. And I point that out to him in the next part of the thread. Now, the thing that I don't think he realizes is what he said here, particularly the utopia part. Now, while rational, science-minded individuals may very well one day create a utopia, I find it interesting that he fails to include his religious ilk along with that. He only includes the degenerates among us. This, I think, is an admission that religious societies are not capable of forming such a utopian view of the world. If we work towards a goal of not screwing the planet up irreparably, science and technology are going to be the keys to that. Theology is just going to hold us back like it always has and always will. Now, at this point, this is where things go just a little sideways. The idea that any action we take is not going to make a difference because we're not going to be alive to see it. That's the thing that really gets under my skin. Now, as I've already mentioned, I'm a parent, so The condition that I leave this planet in directly affects my descendants. Regardless of what may or may not be thought of atheists, I actually do care about my descendants, and I want to leave them the best possible scenario that I can. My whole purpose is to leave them the best conditions that I can so that they can continue on. Now, he kind of segues on this bit. As far as I can tell, this claim is that the countries that he names here are ignoring the planet. Last I checked, their measures of CO2 emissions are actually better than ours. They are actually closer to being a better green environment than the United States is, which is something that I feel we need to catch up with. Now, at this point, I feel compelled to point out that Trump is more focused on fossil fuels, which is the cause of the problem that we have now. Instead of moving towards greener energy sources, he's focused on staying in the past, dragging us back to coal and oil. Well, we're still using oil, but coal specifically. He's focused on that really heavily, and that is an issue. It was at this particular point that my patience, honestly, started to begin to fray. I'm not sure what he means by sociopathic, unless he meant socialist, as if green energy initiatives are even in any way synonymous with socialist ideology. It seems that to him, a short-term problem of energy costs and whatnot outweighs the long-term benefits of taking the actions that necessitate those short-term pains. That kind of ideology is completely insane to me. I see no justifiable reason for that to even be something that can be backed up. The idea that a short-term solution or short-term pain for a long-term solution is a bad idea is just insane to me. You weigh the risks versus the reward in this case. The risks of short-term problems, short-term hardships, they do not in any way outweigh the long-term benefits of taking those actions. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the long game here, not the short-term ramifications that will be happening in his lifetime. We're looking at the long-term ramifications that will preserve the planet. I'll be perfectly honest. At this point, Remnant officially pissed me right the fuck off. His family's lives are on the line. His descendants' lives are on the line, the same as mine. Yet he seems to think that I should worry for the planet for both of us. This is an issue because he's being part of the problem, not the solution. And as I've stated, this is one of the many problems that I have with fundamentalist views. The idea that we're supposed to use up the earth until it's nothing but a husk is just stupid to me. It is insane. The idea that we just use it all up and God will come and fix it, or Jesus or whoever is going to come and fix it, that's not the case, and in no way should it be thought of that way. We are responsible for dealing with the problems that we create. A sky daddy is not going to fix it. Not ever, because it's not possible. We have to take care of this one rock that we have. And until we become a spacefaring civilization and colonize other worlds, we're limited to this rock. So if we screw this rock up too badly, we're all going to go extinct. And that is one of the main issues that I have with fundamentalist views. I feel compelled to point out at this point that he goes on to contradict himself. At one point he says that he cares about the planet, but at another point he effectively does not care about the planet. So take your pick, Remnant. Flip a fucking coin and figure out what side of this problem you're going to be on. Are you going to be part of the problem in total, or are you going to be part of the solution? Pick one. You can't ride the fucking fence on this one. this is another one of those things that pissed me off. I don't worship the creation, but I do care what happens to the planet because, as I said, it affects my descendants. It affects my children directly. It affects my grandchildren, if they have grandchildren. It affects the race as a whole. Whether or not my family line lives on, it doesn't matter. It affects my species. It affects the world itself. And if we can't get this shit under control, we're going to die. Humans are going to go extinct. And really, honestly, I'm willing to take bets on what species takes our place. If the laws and regulations were sufficient, then we wouldn't have the problem that we have now with global climate change. If our global temperature raises, on average, the average global temperature, if it raises just a few degrees, we're looking at an unrecoverable, catastrophic climate change event. The kind of thing that will result in a mass extinction of a lot of life on this planet. Now, we've been orbiting this rock for, at this point, about 4.5 billion years. And I'd rather not see the species that we've become eradicated through idiocy. Now, this is a big issue that I see a lot. Climate change is a hoax. That's completely stupid and short-sighted. Climatologists around the world have told us time after time, year after year, that the global average temperature is rising. Now, most people equate climate change to local weather events, like, hey, tomorrow is going to be hotter than today was, or yesterday was colder than today was, that kind of thing. But we're not talking about local events. We're talking about global average temperature. If the global average temperature rises just a few more degrees, we're looking at another extinction event. Now, when I challenged Remnant to present me with one credible source that says that climate change is a hoax, he went oddly silent. To my knowledge, as of this recording, he has not responded to this last tweet. And I don't really expect that he will, because he honestly can't back it up. If he goes through and does the research, he's going to see how stupid he is. So, this message is to Remnant and all of the people who think like you. Remnant, you are part of the problem, not the solution. Along with everyone that thinks like you, I just want to say one thing to you. Fuck you. And everyone who thinks like you. The idea that you can just completely destroy this planet and your fucking sky daddy is going to come and save you is insane. So you should sit down and shut your ignorant mouth, because you obviously don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about, and you should let wiser men than you make the science decisions and the scientific research for you, because you don't have a fucking clue. You should also leave your mythology in the past, where it fucking belongs. Your mythology has no place in science, and has done nothing but hold science back. So sit down, shut the fuck up, and let people smarter than you do their fucking jobs. And listen to them when they tell you that you're fucking the planet up, and you need to give a shit about it. Now with that, I'm done with my spiel. If you like what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and as always, you can find me in any of these places. Stay curious, guys.